We've already lived through about 8 months of this, and we're not done. This pandemic has put many parts of our lives on hold.
It certainly has. But what happens when you don't have the time to wait? Our investigative unit looks at terminally ill people who are fighting for their day in court. Senior investigative reporter Bigad Shaban has their story.
How do you build a legacy? Alfonso Rochela spent his whole life building his.
If you drive through the city and you can say, wow, well, look what I did. You accomplished something.
He's been in charge of some of the most iconic construction projects in San Francisco. The Cliff House, Exploratorium, and his favorite, this chapel in North Beach. Throughout his life, Alfonso also built a marriage.
My wife is the #1.
A family.
We have 5 grandchildren.
And now he's building a court case. Alfonso is suing nearly 20 companies that made and distributed construction materials at his sites. According to his lawsuit, those companies failed to protect workers from asbestos, a material known to cause cancer. It's the very same cancer Alfonso has.
I have a lot of things to lose.
It's called mesothelioma.
I have the grandchildren to lose.
And it's terminal.
The worst part is you know that you're going to die, and my life is gone.
Are you scared of dying?
Yes.
I don't want to think about him not being here.
Marisa is his wife. They met as teenagers in Italy.
I want to enjoy every day that I have with him. And hopefully tomorrow we have another one, but not thinking that it may be the last one.
How often are you in pain?
Oh, every day, every moment.
Every moment?
Every moment. I'm in pain right now.
Alfonso is suing for pain and suffering, which can provide legal payouts worth millions of dollars. In most of the country, that money goes to the family if a plaintiff passes away before the end of the trial. But that's not the case in California, where once the plaintiff dies, the pain and suffering claim dies too.
Do you worry you may not be here to see the case make its way through court?
Yes.
And what is that feeling like?
It's a mission not accomplished.
Court closures during the pandemic are making it harder for the terminally ill to make it to trial. Across the Bay Area's 9 counties, 4 still aren't allowing juries in these kinds of civil cases. So the trials can't begin.
That court date for them, that's air that they breathe. They need that. That is what's keeping them going.
Dr. Raja Flores has been treating mesothelioma patients for 25 years and says the pain they endure is excruciating.
It is like a boa constrictor that strangles you with each breath until the tumor basically suffocates you.
But as California courts see it, once the plaintiff dies, they're no longer experiencing that pain and suffering, so they can't sue for it.
That is the law,
yeah.
But is it justice?
I don't think it's justice. No, it's not justice.
Assemblyman Mark Stone chairs the state's Judiciary Committee, which serves as a watchdog over California's legal system.
Do you think there's enough political will in Sacramento to change this law?
I think that's a very tough one. The insurance companies, their whole obligation to their shareholders and others is to minimize the payouts. And that sounds kind of cold and cynical, but that's a reality of this legal structure.
The nation's largest insurance association tells us pain and suffering is intended to compensate the one who actually suffered. The group says changing the law would lead to greater expenses for businesses and ultimately consumers. And it argues terminally ill plaintiffs already have other means to speed up their cases.
In California, the terminally ill can request their trials begin in 4 months or less. But in the midst of the pandemic, with courtrooms still closed or severely backlogged, we've confirmed some plaintiffs never got their trials.
Just how many statewide is difficult to say, because as we found out, no one is keeping track.
To me, that's kind of an administrative failure within the system.
After we started asking questions, Assemblyman Stone is now calling for each California court to disclose to the state whether it violated the law by not prioritizing cases for the terminally ill.
Are California courts failing some people right now.
I think they are. We should be able to know whether or not that right is truly being implemented and how it's being implemented.
Alfonso Rochela had to wait an extra 2 months before filing his case. He was finally assigned a trial date for December.
Before I'm gone, I want to make sure that everybody being taken care of. I want to die in peace.
Alfonso never made it to court. The trial, he told us, was never about him. The case he built was for the family he built.
When we think of life without Dad, it's hard to breathe.
Angela Bergamini is Alfonso's oldest daughter. She gave the eulogy with her siblings Viviana and Dino at her side.
You may be gone from our sight, Dad, but you are never gone from our hearts.
Alfonso's death could soon lead to changes at the state capitol. In the new year, California lawmakers are now expected to explore ways to better protect the legal rights of the terminally ill. It's not exactly what Alfonso had hoped to leave behind for his family, but there is more than one way to build a legacy. With the investigative unit, I'm Bigad Shaban.
If you have a story for our investigative unit, call 888-996-TIPS or visit our website, NBCBayArea.com/investigations. And our condolences go out to Alfonso's family.